have a
I need some lessons, though. I need some lessons.
Dude,
no doubt.
everyone sucks in golf.
I'm looking forward to it. Kalina he was like, dude, just stick with it.
Yeah, it's
frustrating.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
I know guys that have been playing for 30 years. They're like 40 handicaps.
It's really eating me up.
What?
It's eating me up.
What?
The golf game. I get out there. I got the clubs. It is eating me up.
You've never even played 9 holes. How could it eat you up? Like, you just starting. You think Steph Curry just started dunking when he was 5 years old?
No, it's bothering me, though.
Bonds was just hitting bombs at 4. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Can we have a sophisticated Giants conversation?
Sure, why not?
All right. So the Gabe Kapler firing, to me, is just, it's such a scapegoating. I am not here to say that Gabe Kapler is some baseball mind that must be preserved. I don't even think he's that great, okay? But I do understand and acknowledge almost all of his decisions are going to be in unison with Farhan Zaidi. You brought Farhan in to outthink the rest of baseball. That's why you brought him in. You brought him in to control the payroll, and you brought him in to improve the farm.
Yep.
Okay? Well, now that the shift has gone away, now that the opener has been completely exposed and diluted, now that stealing is back in the game, all right, and now that we look up and 6 years later the farm is not that much better, what has he really done? And then I'm looking at this roster, and I'm like, again, I'm not trying to cape up for Gabe Kapler.
Yeah.
But, like, Jock Peterson was the highest paid Giant this year. All right, whatever. Conforto, Crawford, Wood, Manaea, Stripling, Rogers, Flores, Yastrzemski, Webb. Webb's the only guy who deserves to be a top 10 guy on anyone else's payroll in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Name me one of those guys. Those are the top 10 guys that are getting paid. Yeah. Name me a team. Is it Dave Roberts? Is it Joe Torre? Is it John McGraw? Bruce Bochy in his prime? Name me a manager who's winning 85 games.
But I want to
go
back.
With that top 10 guys.
None of these guys are.
So then why is he being scapegoated?
Yeah, because we knew this would happen. When Farhan hired Gabe Kapler, coming off of what happened in 2015 when Gabe Kapler was the Dodgers director of player development, and he oversaw a situation where a Dodger minor leaguer player initially videotaped a fight with 2 women who they met through Facebook. The situation was messy, and Kapler tried to play mediator.
Very
confusing. He should have gone.
Yeah.
Very confusing. And he spent 40 minutes of his introductory press conference discussing that situation, not discussing how he's going to manage better from what he did in Philadelphia. Philadelphia was a train wreck, and Howard Eskin, I'll never forget Howard Eskin, the Kiko Sports in Philadelphia, 94 WIP, when he told us, Kapler was too friendly with the players, and they ran him over. And I started to see, well, they did suck this year. But look, listen, they did suck, and they weren't entertaining. And everybody's taking notice. People in the Warriors organization look at the Giants and say, boy, how are they that bad? People at the Niners, I'm sure,
because of the roster.
Because of the roster and the way they present their product to the fans. You got to present this product to the fans. The fans want to be entertained. They want to see bombs.
It's a
they want to be excited.
Business.
You're 17th in attendance, and when I said last year I'm not spending a dime on that team, I didn't realize how many people was going to take that to heart because a lot of people reached out to me and said, Bonte, I didn't go to one game this year. I can't. Bonte, I was with a guy, Al, owns 2 grocery stores out in Marin. I forget the grocery store's name. I got his number in there. But Al, he was in our group with Contos and Kalina, and he goes, I didn't renew my season tickets. I can't do it. So when you think about the moving on from Bochy, who had a year left on his deal, and Farhan basically said, you're going to be a lame duck this year. We're not going to make major moves. You're going to be a lame duck. And we're going to move on from you because we're going to shift our philosophy. And everybody was excited about that, and some of us thought maybe Bochy was long in the tooth. But it was very apparent that Bochy was not done managing baseball.
Oh,
he still had the itch. We knew he would come back. It was just a matter of when, not if. And he came back to Texas, and now he's going to coach playoff baseball. So you move on from that. You hire a guy who had that situation with the Dodgers, and he was a lame duck manager in Philadelphia where he got fired. And you get to keep your job and be in the process of hiring another manager and playing Kapler for your moves. Every Giants fan out there who's smart, the Lutmans, the Shaskys, all these Giants fans who go crazy on Twitter and everything else, we all understand Farhan writes out the lineup card.
Absolutely.
We all understand Farhan deciding what moves need to be made in the 7th inning if said pitcher's on the mound and who you need to pinch hit for. So why is Kapler being scapegoated? I don't think he's the greatest manager in the world.
I don't either.
I didn't lose any sleep over him being fired. But boy, to me, it feels like it should have been a package deal.
Well, the way it was is either you're keeping both or you're removing both.
Right.
To me, they go hand in hand. And then this thing of like, well, now I'm going to do things different. Well, that's not what I hired you to do, right? Like my boss, right? He hired me to give opinions and be Joe Shasky. If I came in here and pretended to be Colin Cowherd, it wouldn't work.
No.
It wouldn't work, right? I have to be myself and what plays to my strengths, right? What Farhan's strengths now are going to all of a sudden be negotiating long-term deals, making big, bold trades.
Well, that's
not his strengths. That's not what he was brought in. Now, with baseball evolving, wasn't his strength, we're going to use the data to shift? We're going to use the data to use the opener? Well, now that baseball has changed a lot of those rules and your fan base has rejected the opener, what value are you bringing?
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought you were supposed to be a wizard at the draft.
Well, this, to me, Farhan firing Kapler before the Dodger series, which took away from the Willie Mack Award. We should have spent more time. Who won a Willie Mack? Tyrod Estrada? Thought it could have gone to Logan Webb. I don't even know. I even think they got that wrong. Well, no disrespect to Tyrod Estrada, but he had a good year, but he was hurt multiple times. Logan Webb was a rock.
Yeah.
Wilmer Flores was a rock. Those two guys needed to win Willie Mack. I'm sorry. That's just my opinion. But you overshadowed the Willie Mack Award at its ceremony by firing Kapler.
Yeah.
Heck, in a way, it overshadowed Brady Crawford's possibly last game as a Giant. You know what I'm saying?
Which feels like he's being ushered out.
You could just wait for the 3 games. You made the whole damn series against the Dodgers awkward by putting Kai Correa in a tough spot.
Do you think Kapler is, like, honest to God, you think he's a baseball moron? Because I do not.
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you really think that Gabe Kapler sat there all in spring training, watching over the last 2 years, Wilmer Flores field ground balls at third base, not being able to throw without a cutoff from third to first, and skipping the ball 5 times? You think someone who played the game, Gabe Kapler, is like, yeah, Wilmer needs to play third for me? Like, honestly.
Yeah, no, I don't.
No,
I don't.
That came from Farhan.
Not only that, Farhan getting out ahead of this. He basically has deflected the blame by saying, I'm going to go to the ownership and recommend that we fire Gabe Kapler to save his butt. That was a smart strategic move by Farhan Zaidi, I believe.
Well, I had heard a rumor that Greg Johnson wasn't even in the country.
Yeah, well, I've heard that rumor too. And, and
that if you want to run a business that way, well, then you're never going to be a successful person running a business.
Conso's brought up the Mario Eliotto celebration, 50 years in the organization with the Giants. And I've heard from multiple people that Farhan Zaidi and Gabe Kapler, it was a bit awkward with them at that ceremony.
Amongst each other?
Sitting there together, amongst all the Giants legends there that play baseball one way. And they're looking at Farhan and Kapler. It's like, look at these guys. Look at these guys. Do they understand what this organization stands for? Do they understand what this market wants? Farhan basically tried to make us the Oakland A's of the West. And I'm saying that because the A's are in the East Bay. Without the prospects.
I mean,
but you got a payroll.
At least the A's brought up prospects and played them.
And don't tell me the ownership is cheap right now. Now, I will listen to the ownership group not being all in on winning because I am open to that. Okay. Are they all in on winning?
Okay.
It looks, these player options, $15 million for him. Hey, you can opt in, and we're showing that we're spending money with $183 million payroll.
Long-term.
Yeah, exactly. Not committing long-term deals. So I could talk about that. But Farhan saying that it's time to listen and adapt. You're 5 years into the program.
I'm 6 now.
Well, it was 6 now. And wait, we have to wait another year for you to adapt? At least with Shanahan, we're saying, hey, we're in year 6 of Shanahan. He doesn't have a quarterback. At least they were knocking on the doorstep of a Super Bowl.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
The Warriors.
Mark Jackson was more successful than Farhan and Gabe Kapler.
Exactly. The Niners.
That's a crazy sentence.
That's a crazy sentence. The Warriors. Hey, we're going to try to win championships while bring up the rookies and get them up to speed. Well, you know what? It wasn't working. They pivoted.
This is the organization that fired Dusty Baker on the heels of losing the World Series.
I know.
They fired Felipe Alou, and he won an NL West wire-to-wire, right? Let's also remember what they are as an organization. And I think that they've really forgotten and have gone way off base from what they were and what they are. And they view themselves disproportionately to where they really are in the league. They think they're the Red Sox and that's where their status is. And right now, their status is not the Red Sox at all. You're not even the
close.
Padres. You're closer to the Rockies than you are the Dodgers.
Yes, you are. And I know Giants fans will laugh at Padres. Well, they didn't do anything. And look at what they did.
Bold.
But at least they're entertaining. Let's take out some dudes.
Yeah, I agree. And they finished higher than you.
Yeah, exactly. They tried to make a run for it. So, and so when Farhan says Friday afternoon, being open and flexible to different ideas, different perspectives is something I'm going to have to take going forward. He told that to reporters where Sam Lutman standing right there.
But here's my problem.
He's standing right there. Yeah,
last year, at the end of the year, okay, and again, I'm being reasonable here. At the end of the year, he said, we're going to be more athletic, we're going to play better defense, and we're not going to strike out as much. You know what they ended up doing this year?
Setting the franchise record for strikeouts.
Had the least amount of steals in baseball, had very minimal range defensively, and did not hit any home runs, from what they were telling me. And they were non-committal to the youngsters. And look, I like Patrick Bailey. I think he's really good defensively. Anyone who thinks he's in the same breath as Buster Posey is tripping.
Yeah.
His numbers are closer offensively to Joey Bart.
Yes.
And that's not, I'm not, like, go look. Buster Posey was a number 3, number 4, number 5 hitter, batted 300. And yes, there were years he didn't have big home run numbers because of the hip.
Right.
He was a center of the order 300 hitter for every year that he played, essentially. Mm-hmm. Patrick Bailey had career highs.
Career highs.
If you look at his minor league numbers versus career highs at the big league level, I don't know if it's sustainable offensively, and it's very below what we expected for. So don't do that to the kid.
Yeah, don't.
Buster Posey is a greatest catcher in Giants history type player.
Well, shout out to Carlos Ramirez, who did a great job on pre and post, but he said that, and Laura Britt on the set was like, yo, can we chill off the Patrick Bailey, Buster Posey comparisons? Let's not do that to the rookie.
I like Bailey.
Right, and I like
he's the
Bailey.
Only young player they committed to. This year, I had to get a feel for who Ramos is. I wanted to see what Matos is. I'm selling my Matos stock.
Real quick, just on Posey, I think people forget the impact he has as a rookie. He carried the lineup
20 home runs
in a 3-hole.
Yes.
He carried this lineup, whether it was 3-hole or 4-hole, he carried that lineup.
He was one of the great professional at-bats in our lifetime. Will Clark,
as a rookie.
Will Clark, Barry Bonds, Buster Posey.
Just
if you're having an at-bat for your life, the last 40 years of Giants baseball, it's one of those 3.
Yeah, no doubt.
Would you agree?
Absolutely, but as a rookie, when we want to compare Patrick Bailey, as a rookie, Posey handled a staff that had Lincecum, Kane, Bumgarner, Jonathan Sanchez. Some big boys,
and
right?
Brian Wilson.
And Brian Wilson in the back end, and a great bullpen with the great core 4.
And beat the Dodgers down the stretch, and beat the Padres down the stretch to win the West.
So don't
when
do
it was
this.
tougher to make the playoffs.
That's what I'm saying. Don't do this with Patrick Bailey. Buster Posey was electric as a rookie. But I want to get back to Farhan for just a second in his quotes on Friday. He also added this. This is from Farhan Zaidi. I said this a couple times publicly, and just to reiterate it. The thing that has been on my mind and on the minds of other people in this organization is, as a group, as a team, we played our worst baseball when it mattered the most. I know you guys in the media have been working on figuring out why that happened. And there's a lot of questions for fans on why that happened. We've had a lot of work to figure out why that happened. But we felt like step 1 was making this change. We're looking for new and different leadership in our clubhouse, a different dynamic there. There's a lot of responsibility going around and a lot of sense of accountability for what's happened today, starting with me. I know that it's ultimately my job to put a product on the field that our organization is proud of, that our fans are proud of, and frankly, that just hasn't happened in the last couple of years. That's been difficult for me. It's been difficult for a lot of people. I also feel very determined to fix it. I think collectively we can fix it. We're not satisfied with how things have gone the past couple of years. I know I have to think about things differently. I know as an organization we have to do things differently, and a lot of those things are difficult, starting with the move today, releasing Gabe Kapler. Now, he says we played our worst baseball when it mattered the most. And I will ask Farhan Zaidi, are you really surprised that you played your worst baseball in August and September? You had 2 starting pitchers in your rotation.
You were anchored by J.D. Davis, Lamont Wade Jr., and Wilmer Flores.
Yeah.
Name me a team. Like those guys had career years, all 3 of them.
Yep.
Career years.
Yep.
And that's how below the bar that they are. Corbin Carroll was awesome from day 1, but he's not the only reason why the Diamondbacks kicked your teeth in.
Right.
Okay? They had a better bullpen when it was all said and done. They had a better starting staff with multiple elite pitchers.
Right.
And their top to bottom lineup with Marte and all the guys, Perdugo and they were balling. Alec Thomas was better than any of your young players.
Yep.
And he's underwhelming by the standards of the Diamondbacks.
Yep. No, he is. But I'm thinking about these quotes from Farhan because I wrestled with these all weekend. Listening to him live, listening to Willard and Dibbs break it down. And I just, for the life of me, all night, I was texting the boss man too Friday night, and I texted Trey and I said, I can't believe Farhan Zaidi still has a job.
Well,
I just cannot. I'm trying to be logical here.
No, I'm with you.
I asked somebody with the Warriors yesterday. I said, how would you accept if a GM, and no, it wasn't Joe Lacob, so I'll say that on the front end. It wasn't Joe Lacob. But I asked somebody, I said, how would you feel if somebody came out and said, I'm having a hard time signing guys because of the logistics of the city? And that person said,
it was insulting.
That person said, yeah, you should probably be fired. You should not have a job if you don't believe you can bring in free agents.
I got a text message from a prominent former Bay Area sports anchor who I look up to. I'm not going to reveal this person's name. And he was disgusted at the way Farhan deflected blame and the way that our own local media, which he was a part of for a long time, didn't press him on him being the reason. He was so let down by his brethren, and he was furious that this guy was able to continue to giggle during. He was laughing.
He was giggling.
He couldn't believe it. He was laughing after firing somebody that he hand selected, and it was all because of him.
And you know what? I'm trying to keep my cool because Lutman convinced me last night to go down to Oracle Park with him and go to this presser. And I am getting angrier and angrier just thinking about him giggling after firing Kapler after a lost season. And then, not only are people coming out of work, Dave Fleming. We love Flem. He joins us every single week. I think he's joining us tomorrow for the last time this season. Hopefully we can just have some one-offs. Dave Fleming. When Dave Fleming gets upset, he's the most calm, cool, collected dude I've ever met in my life.
He's reasonable. Very reasonable is the way I would put it.
Dave Fleming, last week on the Morning Roast, said this about using the logistics and politics of the city on not being able to attract free agents and having to stay local to sign guys. Here's Flem.
I don't want to hear from anybody about taxes and California and all that. I mean, the biggest stars in sports are in California, and some of them are right here in San Francisco. So I do not believe that should be an impediment to building a championship baseball team.
Flem came out and said that.
Don't you find it hypocritical that they basically move off of Bochy, who I would describe him as the ultimate gut meets analytics manager, right? He's both. Because people pretend like he didn't go off data. Oh, he went off data. He didn't have Johnny Sanchez hitting, Chase Utley with Affelt waiting in the pen ready to go if you aren't 5 moves ahead of every single person.
No doubt.
And those who remember that Philly series know exactly what I'm talking about.
No doubt.
All right? He was forward thinking.
You're preaching.
All right? You moved off of one of the great clubhouse managers of all time only to fire a guy who you told me data was everything. And the reason that you cited was he had lost the clubhouse. Is that not ironic?
Yeah,
is that not irony?
That is unbelievable. That is unbelievable.
There's not. And here, Sam keeps texting me this question, our producer, and I love Sam. Is there anything Farhan can do to win you over? Is there any move he can make to win you over? I'm done. I'm out. I don't care if this guy brings back Ken Griffey Jr. in his prime. I am so out on the brand of baseball this guy wants to play. It is not big. Look around the bigs at who is succeeding.
Yeah.
You could have had guys, Arias, who led baseball in the National League in batting average, could have been had for a pitcher this year. You didn't trade for him.
Nope.
Were you in on the Juan Soto deal?
Nope.
Because it sure felt like they didn't like your farm system.
No, it didn't.
Have you been in on Matt Olson, who led Atlanta as well as other players?
50 burger in terms of home runs. 50 burger. How many did he end up with?
We talk a lot.
55?
Fonte, we've talked. I think we've talked too much about free agency.
Right.
Personally, I believe that actually it's not the greatest path of improving your team.
No.
It's a way to supplement your roster.
It's a start.
It is. But you could make trades, and you had 5 years to build up the cupboard, and still no one wants to deal with you.
So,
your big acquisition in a pennant race was A.J. Pollock. You walked into that clubhouse and said, hey, guys, I got you A.J. Pollock, and he's going to bat third.
And that was coming off the heels of Alex Cobb. And that was coming off the heels of Alex Cobb saying, I hope we really go for it. I hope we really go for it. And look, I agree with Farhan without selling because I didn't think he had anything to sell. I really didn't.
Yeah, but you lost the clubhouse by doing that. You have to understand the ramifications.
No, I do understand that.
They needed enforcements.
Look, I understood that, but I understood it because I thought, okay, Matos is going to play every day. Luciano's going to come up. Kyle Harris is going to come up. Casey Smith. And that's why I said, maybe you do have to fire this guy.
But they didn't commit to those guys.
That's what I'm saying. That's why my whole premise on selling was that I was under the impression they're going to commit to the guys in the last 3 months of the season, to let them play in the pennant race and let them taste it and what it's like being a Giant.
Did you see the lineup Friday after they fired Kapler? Basically, the season was over.
Yeah, I did.
You played Yastrzemski and Wilmer again,
I know.
And Wilmer made multiple errors on the set. I said, why is Casey Schmidt not at third base?
Yeah, I know.
You have nothing to lose.
I know. It's bad. So you are listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM, and AC1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app. Download the Odyssey app and favorite 95.7 The Game for the best and most up-to-date sports coverage. Don't forget about YouTube and Twitch. It's powered by our friends at First NorCal Credit Union. And shout out to the Comcast Business Text Line. I'm going to read this quote from Yastrzemski, and then other side, and let's get in the media day with the Golden State Warriors because I want to feel good about myself.
One last point after that. Go.
Yeah, I want to read this about Yastrzemski because we have about 6 minutes to the break. Apparently, the players forgot how to push back because there's a lot of things going on in the clubhouse. We heard about player meetings. We heard about Alex Wood talking. We heard Alex Cobb talking. Ross Stripling was talking about the Phantom IL. All these guys. And from hearing from other Giants players over the last weekend, it's about the players. And Farhan has acted like it's not about the players. It's about his plan and his process. So Yastrzemski said this. Mike Yastrzemski, who I know is not the greatest player in the world. We get all that. He goes, I think a kind of fend for yourself type of atmosphere somehow fell into place. I don't know where it came from, but it kind of took over where everybody felt like they could do their own thing, and it made it feel like there wasn't an entire group effort or a sense of unity. When you look at successful brands and successful teams, they have unity and a common goal. And I think that we need to refocus on that and to generate a very narrow window of where all of your eyesight should be. That was wild. Logan Webb called for big changes. And he said, as a kid growing up in Sacramento, watching from afar, there just seemed to be a certain way that baseball was done here. You walk in a clubhouse and you're across the way from a Buster Posey. So it's like, I'm going to do everything I can try to be like that guy. Respect your peers. Respect your elders. Respect the game of baseball. And then play as hard as you can and compete every single day. I'm not saying we haven't done that. I'm saying if we can't emphasize that a little bit more, maybe we have 6 or 7 more wins and something like today doesn't happen in terms of fiery Gabe Kapler. And when I think about players, not playing hard or focus on anything, I can't help but think about Jock Peterson, the guy you gave $20 million to.
I heard from some people who work for the Giants, the disgust level on Jock Peterson internally is through the roof. Through the roof. In terms of his ethic, work ethic every day, and the standard he's setting for the other guys who look around him, basically, he was enabled to eat himself into DH role and get $20 million a year and just not care that much.
Yeah, no doubt.
That was the feeling from people that I heard from. This isn't me. I'm expressing what I've heard from very reliable people who know what they're talking about.
And I've heard basically the same rumblings.
And more worried about card games than he was about actually, fielding fly balls in the outfield and hitting and things like that. Pete, I want two quick points.
Problem in the clubhouse?
2 quick points. No duh. When you treat people like a yo-yo and you're moving guys on and off the roster left and right. Sean Jelly was optioned like 25 times this year.
Like I said, they even missed a boat on a sponsorship deal.
Right.
Should have been Amtrak because the Sacramento shuttle was in full swing.
Yes.
They can't get enough gas for that shuttle.
We could talk so much about all the different moves. And I do believe the Joey Bart miss by the prior regime absolutely was a monumental miss.
But
you can't miss it, too.
But you should have flipped him.
No, but
if he's not your guy, flip him and get him out of here.
That's my point. And here's the other thing. Like, the great Giants trades of all time, Kevin Mitchell, JT Snow, who you referenced, Jeff Kent, all trades, Hunter Pence, trades. You know what you have internally, and if you don't value it, you move it. The big draft whiffs. I'm telling you, drafting Hunter Bishop and passing on Gunnar Henderson and Corbin Carroll. Those were the two. The best young player in the American League, arguably, and the best young player in the National League were in the same draft, and you took a guy who can't get out of Double-A. We could talk all day about all these other drafts, and there's a lot of misses. We do this in every sport, and I understand it is a crapshoot. You whiffed on 2 guys.
Yeah.
2 guys who went within 25 picks after Hunter Bishops, who are franchise-changing players.
Yep. And you know what? Farhan got to keep his job. So we're going to go to the presser at 11 o'clock, and we'll see what he says. I may get a question or 2 in, but I'm going to sit back and let the beat writers do their thing early on, see what happens. And I wonder if Greg Johnson's going to be there. So I want to ask him, as an owner of the baseball team, how do you feel about your president of baseball operations basically blaming the politics and the logistics of the city for his reason not to secure a superstar. We don't want to hear that. We do not want to hear that.
I don't understand how Farhan's going to be able to evolve his baseball principles when all of his principles are set in stone over the sabermetrics obsession that he has. He has openly said the Bill James book is his Bible to how he views baseball. Yeah. And Bill James himself is like, yeah, some of the things I put in there are not meant to be the word of the gospel.
Yeah, no, I don't know. And, we talk about Jock Peterson. I remember, Mark, I keep bringing this up. I don't know why. But when they gave him $19.6 million, I said, who in their right mind is giving Jock Peterson $19.6 million?
And then JD Martinez gets $10 million and has like 4 times the year.
4 times a year. And it's like, it wasn't just Mark, but it was a lot of Giants fans coming at me saying, it's just $19.6 million. What?